If you're the betrayed partner, you know what it's like to be hit with waves of emotion that feel impossible to control. One moment you're holding it together, and then the next you're flooded with anger, grief, or fear. You may even wonder if you're too much or if you're going crazy for reacting so strongly. Now, if you're the recovering partner who broke the trust, you know what it's like to feel caught off guard by these emotions from your partner. Naturally, you're going to want predictability. You want things to calm down, but instead, it can feel like you're walking into a storm you do not know how to navigate. You'll probably feel powerless, defensive, frustrated, wondering when things will finally settle down. Well, both of you are left asking the same question most of the time. Like, why does this keep happening? And what are we supposed to do with it? If this cycle feels familiar, stay with us. In this episode, we're going to pull it apart so you can finally understand what's really happening underneath these reactions.
If your relationship has been shattered by betrayal and you feel stuck and lost, you're in the right place.
This is From Crisis to Connection, a closer look at the process of how couples in crisis transform betrayal into healing, rejuvenating connection.
Every episode, we dissect the healing journey so you can understand what actually works and what you can do to thrive again.
You'll step onto a clear path toward personal wholeness and vibrant partnership.
We are your hosts, Jeff and Jody Stewart. So in this episode, we're going to make the case that what looks like overreacting isn't really the problem. We'll show how it feels for the betrayed partner, how it feels for the recovering partner, and why both of you end up stuck in the same frustrating loop. We'll also look at why the usual ways of handling these moments, whether it's pulling away, fighting back, or trying to make the feelings disappear, this leaves both of you even more disconnected.
These strong reactions when you're betrayed, I think, are one of the hardest things that betrayed partners experience on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
It's so disorienting for them because this is not how so many of these women that I've worked with are just living their lives like day to day. They're not dealing with all these surprising, unexpected, strong reactions that just really take them out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course not.
Yeah. And so I think along with those reactions, it can create a lot of beliefs. It can create a lot of maybe messages around who they are, why they're reacting this way. And it can be so different than how they're normally seeing themselves that it can create a lot of stress for them.
Well, not to mention, they probably often aren't queued up by something necessarily obvious either.
Oh.
I mean, can be.
Yeah.
But that's just an additional layer that makes
say more about that.
Just that when you have a strong response to something, when there is an obvious trigger or something that instigates it, then you can connect the dots and it can seem normal and feel normal.
Yeah, like your kid running out in the street and
yeah.
nearly missing a car, or getting hit by a bike or something, and
yeah.
you're like, oh, that I freaked out or yelled because my kid was in danger, versus what you're talking about, which is 1 minute I'm fine and the next minute I'm crying.
Yeah, or raging, and the impetus can be something that is seemingly innocuous, but not necessarily so.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is a gendered thing or not, but in my experience, I think there's a lot of pressure on women to hold all that together and not look crazy, not look unstable emotionally. I think a lot of women feel like there's a lot of criticism or beliefs out there that they somehow should just be more poised or hold things together better. Is that true as a woman? Do you find that?
For sure. Yeah, it's a weird kind of straitjacket to be in. Just that we tend to be more in touch with our feelings. We tend to be culturally supported in being emotive to some degree.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're also shamed for expressing, even even just expressing too much negative
Yeah.
emotion. So it's a bit of a minefield, even pre-betrayal.
Oh, yeah.
And then betrayal just kind of, it's like adding this pot of boiling lava underneath all that.
Right. Like there's already like a predisposition to feeling things deeply, experiencing things. And granted, there's people who grow up in families or have experiences where they're pretty shut down emotionally. But for the most part, I would say in general, that's the case for a lot of women. So yeah, you're right. You add betrayal on top of that, and it becomes what can feel like a runaway train. Very unpredictable.
Yes.
And very overwhelming and confusing. Yeah.
I'm just going to add, at a time when women need to know they can at least count on themselves. So the pressure is really, really high. The stakes are so high. And so if she's struggling to hold it together emotionally, then it can even become a bit of a self-betrayal. Like she can't even count on herself to be steady during this really tumultuous time.
Yeah. Yeah. When you say women need to be able to count on themselves more, say more about that. I'm curious what
Well,
that.
when the person that theoretically you should be able to rely on the most lets you down and betrays you, then you're in a position where you're alone.
I got to get to safety.
Yeah. And the only person who can create the safety for me is me. And if I can't trust myself to be able to hold it together when I need to, then who's going to have my back? If I'm falling apart, who's going to pick me up?
Yeah.
If I can't be the one to do it.
Oh my gosh. So true. That's a great point. Yeah. Yeah. Especially when your person who you were counting on to be there for you.
Yeah.
And right when we get in a long-term committed relationship, most of the people I work with are married. When you make that public commitment and you give your life to someone else in marriage, it's with the expectation that the ground's not going to disappear from under you.
Right.
And when it does, or when the earth opens, or whatever metaphor you want to use, then yeah, you have to, you become, your own rescue. It can feel like that right out the gate. Even though lots of people are willing to help, it feels very private, very embarrassing, humiliating. And so it feels like you against the world now because you don't have a person in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so you're saying that the cruel irony or tragedy of this is that in the moment they need themselves the most, the least reliable they probably feel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Completely unstable.
And it's go time.
Yep.
And I think that the confusion, so if betrayed partners are feeling overwhelmed like this and they're experiencing, right, the lack of support, feeling isolated, the emotions are huge naturally. I think a lot of the women I've talked to in my practice understandably think that this is something that's just defective with them, or that they are doing it wrong, or that other people in this same situation wouldn't respond this way or wouldn't feel these things in this way. And that's simply just not true.
No.
What they're experiencing is actually very universal and normal and understandable when you're dealing with relational trauma. Yeah. And we want them to know that. We want them to understand that this is not a personal defect, because they may be getting messages from the person that hurt them or other people around them who may, see in and wonder why she's acting so unstable. So the thing I really want betrayed partners to hear and understand, and I must say this a million times, is you're not crazy. You've been through something crazy.
Yeah.
This is something that anybody in your situation would feel. And it's critical for you to recognize that the solution is not going to be beating up on yourself or self-criticizing or analyzing your own reactions. Not that we wouldn't want to look at and understand how we show up in the world, but right now, especially when there's a discovery or you're dealing with crazy-making situations, with dynamics, with trying to figure out what the truth is, all those things that happen, especially in early recovery, couples recovery, it's so helpful and so reassuring and soothing for a betrayed partner to hear and understand that what they're experiencing is very normal.
Because it doesn't feel normal at all. It's not normal for her
Right.
at all.
Right. Exactly.
So the feelings themselves and the reactions are they're not the problem.
No.
And she doesn't need to think of herself in that way like it's a problem.
Right.
Even if it's creating some discomfort in her family or with friends or with a partner.
Oh yeah, which it will, because I think in general most people want things to be pleasant. Right? Most social interactions don't usually involve this level of pain and chaos and confusion.
Mm-hmm.
And so there can be this pressure of, I've got to reassure everyone that everything's okay, or I'm okay, or it's like I have to make everybody else comfortable, when in reality, they're the ones that need all the support. So yeah, it's not normal in terms of regular interactions with people. That's not normally how we interact, but it's very normal when you're dealing with this. And of course you need to put on
sometimes
a public
you need
face.
Sometimes you need a public face. Yeah.
Yep. You need a public face for your kids sometimes, just to show up and not basically bleed out everywhere, which is really tough to do. And so many brave and strong people I've worked with have had to just wake up every day and go out in the world and deal with something that to them is absolutely horrific. And they just do it. But those internal messages, I want them to recognize around something's wrong with them, those just aren't true.
Right.
This is something that's happened to them.
Right. So as a betrayed partner, it can look and feel crazy to her, but it's actually exactly what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I think for some of our listeners, this point is going to be old news for them. They've had good support. They've done some reading. They understand that their emotions are normal. And thankfully in the past, 15 plus years since a lot of more information around betrayal trauma has come out, a lot of partners start their journeys feeling very supported and validated. So this might not be new information for some of you listening, but I hope it's a powerful reminder for them as they're listening to this and remembering those moments where they felt crazy, to be like, right, okay, this was normal. This was trauma. This is what it feels like. And then certainly, because for so many folks, the journey is never really completely over. They'll have triggers or memories or new situations that come up that throw them back just with life and whatever, to also just be reminded that this is what that feels like when the bottom gets pulled out from you, or when you're reminded of something that was so overwhelming, you felt so powerless. And we just want to keep that message alive and well so that people don't feel crazy.
So if you are the betrayed partner, your strong reactions are not weakness. They are survival. Your body and mind are doing exactly what they are supposed to do after betrayal, protecting your reality. You're not broken for feeling this way, and your emotions are not the problem. So for a recovering partner, it can be really unnerving to have a betrayed partner reacting so strongly, and it maybe erratically, but in ways that are just not typical. When she's not acting like her normal self, that can be really unsettling. And a lot of those strong emotions are probably directed at the recovering partner.
Absolutely, as they should be.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's the whole point here. It's a protest. It's shock. It's confusion. It's even somewhat of a petition of like, do you see what you did? Do something. It's really strong. Absolutely.
And so, like we discussed in a previous episode, the natural response is to explain.
Yep.
Maybe even just jump into problem solving mode. Try to deflect, minimize.
Right.
But all of that is really self-protective. So it does more damage. Like the things that come naturally will do more damage, especially because she is in such a fragile emotional state.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think part of what makes it so challenging too is when you've got a ruptured attachment, when you've got two people that were bonded to each other, there was a lot of security going both directions. Technically, that's the point of a bond, is that both people don't have to worry about the other person not being there for them. But all of a sudden, the bottom falls out, and right, she's like, he's not there for me. But what's wild is he's also experiencing she's not there for me, even though he's the one that had secrets. And, I don't feel as bad in those moments because there's been a one-sided betrayal.
Yeah.
But just neurologically, biologically, there's this experience of two people in a free fall. It's the best way I could put it. And that's really overwhelming to both people. And this is why so many guys that I work with struggle to respond well, because in some ways they're trying to get their security back, even though they just burned it down. And of course, she's trying to get her security back. So you get two people really flailing in this attachment rupture, and it's overwhelming. And so her big emotions are going to be met with oftentimes some efforts at containment, either trying to talk her down, talk her out of it, or even just ignore it or disappear. The reactions are varied, but her big reactions, whether she's raging or she's totally silent, will often be met with some big reaction in return. It just becomes explosive or just intense in whatever form it takes.
So he's going to feel tempted to believe about her and treat her like she's the problem.
Yes.
But she's not the problem.
No.
The problem for him is his shame about the problem. So can you say some more about that?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. The tendency with shame is, I think John Bradshaw said it, where there's shame, there's blame. Anytime we as humans feel shame for something we did, shame is so punishing physiologically, emotionally, that we want to get that off of us. I sometimes think of it like a cargo net, in the movie you see, and it's like you're trying to fight your way out of it, or a sludge. It's just shame is so heavy and awful that when we have that wash over us, when we realize we've hurt someone we really care about, someone we promised we would protect, and we're in this shame, what are we going to do to get out of that? Well, the most human reflex in that moment is to blame the other person or blame something else to get that off of us. It's actually quite effective. It actually makes us feel better for a moment. Well, it's not me, it's you. If you weren't so reactive or so loud, or you weren't just freaking out all the time or blaming, then I don't have to feel like I'm such a horrible person. I can create some distance now from the shame. But it's absolutely the wrong thing to do, of course. It's going to make an already difficult situation even more impossible, because the shame is going to now coat the partner who's been betrayed. It's like you're casting the net onto them and basically saying, you carry this. And so a lot of partners do. They blame themselves like, oh, I'm overreacting, or I'm doing this wrong, or I should be, they get caught in this place where somebody is carrying the shame. And the truth is that the trauma is creating this, and the betrayed partner is not reacting is not doing anything wrong by having strong reactions. And the person who broke the trust needs to learn how to sit with and support the partner in those really intense emotions. And this is something most people do not know how to do.
Yeah, because it is his responsibility. And if the relationship is ever going to get some movement toward healing and repair, he's going to have to do that.
This is why I've spent considerable effort and time building programs and resources to help people learn how to do that who have broken trust, because it often goes against every intuition and instinct that we have, especially when you're the one that caused the pain. It's a lot easier it's not easy, but it's easier to be there for somebody where there's been another source of pain. It's come from somewhere else. Oh, that big jerk at work hurt your feelings, and we can all gang up against him. But when it's you, it's pretty overwhelming.
Okay, so that does put the guys in an interesting bind
Mm-hmm.
then too. Even if they have a desire to show up, they've got to be feeling like she doesn't want them to show up because they created the problem.
I mean, that's the dilemma, right? That's the dilemma of I want this person to like care about me, but I also want to get away from them. And that dilemma of being the source of pain and the source of comfort, it's part of why your partner is acting this way and why it looks so crazy,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a dilemma. And anytime we're in a dilemma, we don't know what to do, we can act really strange.
Mm-hmm.
So as the person who broke the trust, I would just want them to really start to shift their belief and their vision or their understanding of what's in front of them, which is this is not just craziness, that there's a trauma underneath.
Mm-hmm.
You're a huge part of it. And if not all of it, there may be other things from their story that play into it. But for the most part, this is a relational trauma. And for you to take yourself out of it or assume that something you have nothing to do with it or they'll get it figured out or whatever is only going to do more damage. We want recovering partners to really understand that there's more going on here than just an overly emotional person, that there's a whole reason and story underneath it that they really have to understand and embrace to be helpful.
Mm-hmm. So maybe just that clarity can help them just begin to lean in more.
That's the hope. If you're the recovering partner, your work is to not calm her down or explain things away. The biggest obstacle is your own shame and the urge to defend or even shut down and withdraw. Real stability comes when you can stay present with your partner's pain. That presence is what begins to rebuild safety. When it comes to the couple relationship, the dynamic, we've been talking about the interplay between the betrayed partner's big emotions and all the trauma and some of the natural reflexes and even shame that comes up for the recovering partner. But when you put all this together, this is, in my experience, why a lot of couples end up in marriage counseling right after a betrayal. Because there's all this big emotion and we're not getting along or the bottom's fallen out. And there can be a lot of blame on the betrayed partner for basically making the marriage hard, which is wild. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that surprise you?
I mean, not in the context of this, but in the language that you put it in, that like she kind of becomes the problem because she's making things hard is absurd and frustrating. But
yeah. I mean, if I could line up every betrayed partner or couples that I've worked with when they ended up in a counselor's office, marriage counseling, or even with a church leader or even family who get involved, a lot of the times it now becomes this marriage issue, right? When really, because of the big emotion, we're fighting all the time and that kind of thing. But really, the couple has to understand that this is not a marriage issue. This is a betrayal issue, and they're very different.
Right, because in a marriage issue, both partners can take steps toward each other to they collaborate, they work together in mutual ways to create change.
Yeah.
But in a betrayal circumstance, one party is responsible for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's tricky it's hard to see that because on the outside, it just looks like a couple's fighting.
Yeah.
Or there's just drama. And there's a whole underbelly to it, which I think at a minimum, the couple needs to understand if they're going to stabilize, which is each of them understanding their own part in it, which is the betrayed partner's part is to speak truth and take care of herself and get to safety and stabilize, those kinds of things, right? And the recovering partner's job is to take accountability and own it and face the truth and those kinds of things. So you can have this real potential for going a couple different directions. You can go into this collusion of, well, we just aren't getting along, or we haven't had a good marriage.
She's just out of control.
Or you can go into this other place of saying, we basically need a lot of really specific structure and support and help to get out of this betrayal situation, which is so different than just, we got to work on the marriage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Big
Yeah.
emotions, I think, are an easy target. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're loud. They're usually unstable, uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and they're coming from the person who the majority of the time is responsible for keeping things smooth.
Mm. Yep.
So yeah, it looks like she's just upsetting the system.
Yeah, it can weirdly be like a betrayal of the social contract or agreement.
Uh-huh.
That we got to get this thing under control.
Well, and to some level too, is there a belief that because the betrayal happened, it meant that the marriage itself was broken?
People think that all the time.
Yeah.
And betrayals happen in perfectly fine marriages
Mm-hmm.
that were, going okay, or they're fine. And couples work through their stuff, but a betrayal is an individual choice. A marriage doesn't create a betrayal.
Right.
Betrayals are created by an individual in a marriage. It's very different. So this is why it's so important for couples that are working through this process together to really just understand what the lay of the land is, what's happening to them. Without that, they're going to have a bunch of beliefs that are, again, shame-based, blaming, and self-critical, and it's going to make it hard for either one of them to eventually even work together and repair the relationship down the road. But in the crisis phase, especially in the stage early recovery, as we might call it, it can just keep them so chaotic and disorganized. And that's really what we want to do, is help educate and strengthen and structure what the process really is, so that the couple can know what their individual jobs are as they're trying to walk their way out of this. Because even though betrayal is one person's responsibility, both people have different responsibilities and roles in responding to it.
So to summarize, as a couple, the problem is not that she is overreacting. The problem is misunderstanding what those reactions mean. When her emotions get dismissed as irrational, or his shame pushes him to pull away, then both of you lose. But when you start seeing those reactions as survival responses calling for connection, the path forward opens and healing can begin.
If you're listening to this and wondering, how do we even start working with these reactions instead of against them? We've created a free resource for you. It's called You, Me, Us, A Way Forward After Betrayal. Inside, you'll find simple tools to help you steady yourself, support your partner, and begin caring for your relationship together. You can grab it for free using the link in the show notes. It's a practical first step to help both of you move from surviving the storm to actually building some connection in the aftermath of betrayal. And before we sign off, we want to show you another example of couples doing the work of healing, learning, and growth. Now, it doesn't matter where you are in your journey as a couple, because the work never stops. It just changes.
So this is a personal experience from someone in our Courageous Together program.
Oh, awesome.
And they have been in recovery for quite some time. She says, my husband is really improving his ability to stay present with my pain and feelings.
Nice.
It's been quite the journey to get here, but more often than not, he holds space for me to express whatever I need without getting defensive or avoiding. It's allowing my nervous system to settle a bit into more relational work and connection, knowing that my full emotional range is seen, supported, and validated. It comes through in simple ways, like when my feelings come up at inopportune times, and instead of dismissing my needs, he'll say something like, I can stay here if you want to talk more. I'm right here with you. In those moments, I feel prioritized and supported in ways that are meaningful to me.
Man.
Yeah.
Clapping for those guys. That's great. I really loved in there how she talked about how him just being present there more just an invitation of just staying with her
Mm-hmm.
allows her to want to do relational work.
Right.
That's huge.
That's a really excellent connection.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That feels safe to her. It makes her want to invest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just how simple it seems on the surface. I get that this is not an easy thing to do in the moment, but so it's clear there's been a lot of practice and work and support to get there. But I love this example of what that can look like, which is not having to have a bunch of answers or calm her down or fix anything, just saying,
No.
I can stay here with you in this
Yeah.
emotional storm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So well done.
Yeah, good job,
Happy.
guys.
This is just more proof that you don't have to just get through the crisis. You can learn how to live in connection.
Absolutely.